And I guess the other stuff going on are games. There's a slate of games for Labor Day weekend. This is when everybody would have been back. My alma mater would have been at Washington had there been no pandemic. We're seeing both two military academies, Army and Navy, playing this weekend. BYU and Navy. I mean, that's a fun matchup. I mean, I will be tuned in to ESPN on Monday night as we get set to be on ESPN watch football on Monday night on ESPN now for the next 17 weeks. Knock on wood if you're with me, to use the John Gruden phrase. And then the SEC and the ACC and Big 12. And
Big 12.
Planning on playing. So I guess my question for you is, these schools and academies we see on the screen and the other conferences that are still going ahead, do they just view the medicine and the science differently? What's the disconnect here?
That's it. I mean, that's it, Rich. Some leagues are looking at it. Their leadership is trusting medical experts who are looking at things, quite honestly, through a different lens than certainly the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and a few other leagues. And, look, we've heard so much dust up in the Big Ten. You haven't really heard any of that from the Pac-12 coaches. I mean, you mentioned Michigan was supposed to open up against Washington. Jimmy Lake was pretty outspoken about, hey, he doesn't want his players to be guinea pigs in this. My guest a couple of Mondays ago, David Shaw of Stanford, I asked him if the Big Ten and the Pac-12 had made the right decision in moving off of the fall schedule. He said the words unequivocally. That's what he said. Unequivocally is what he said. So it's interesting to see how the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are looking at science and medicine a little bit differently for the moment, because it certainly seems like both schools conferences are leaning towards coming back in the fall. Yeah, if they can, when they get to that point again. And I think it's worth noting that the Pac-12 coaches there's not been this dust up, and for the people who are like, oh yeah, it means more in the Big Ten. It may mean more to the fans on percentage. It doesn't mean any more to the coaches, though. I mean, you know who David Shaw is. I mean, Jimmy Lake coached in the NFL. He's, Mario Cristobal. Those guys are as much football guys as there is. And when Jimmy Lake comes out and says, we don't want our team to be guinea pigs, after hearing from the medical experts, I mean, that's his perspective on it. And I think it all comes back to, the lens of the medical experts that they're looking at this and whatever they find. And I think the thing to maybe keep in the back of your mind with this all is, because we're going to see games. We've already seen the 2 last night and 1 a week ago. Is this is a long-term run, right? This isn't a sprint. Oh, okay, there were games played in high school weekend where everything's fine. See, everything's fine. I mean, it's great that there are no reports of cases from the first game, Central Arkansas against Austin Peay last weekend. But again, it's like if you're a college AD or you're a conference commissioner or you're a college president, man, you got a lot on the line, because if there is a tragedy and we've heard these, and you have all these conferences who are saying we didn't feel comfortable saying we could play. We just didn't feel the information was telling us. And keep in mind, it's a pandemic, and what's the death count up to in the country? That is a lot of responsibility to make the decision to say, yeah, we're going to push forward. And so right now, let's keep our fingers crossed that everything can be safe and the game we love can keep going. But it's not an easy decision. And I think maybe that part of it has gotten lost because of all the sniping back and forth with the Big Ten and how it handled its messaging.